Okay guys, so again, first time why I asked for a video, but there's a very good reason for this one. So okay, I'm not sure how many of you are following international news, but over here we live on an island. It's the island of St. Lucia. That's where I live. It's in the Caribbean, and about 30 or so miles from the coast of St. Lucia, beyond this little point here, you cannot see anything. But on sunny days like this one, you'll be able to see the island of St. Vincent. St. Vincent currently, I believe over the last 4 or 5 days or so, they had their last Soufrière volcano that erupted. So keeping these guys in our prayers. Hope that they don't face too much devastation and destruction and loss of life and property. But since then, a bunch of folks have been evacuated, a couple thousand of them. They spread about, I think, the UK, the sister islands in the Caribbean. But as a result of this, we have ash flowing from St. Vincent to St. Lucia and all the neighboring islands. We don't have it as bad as the other countries like Barbados. I think Barbados had a day sometime a few days ago where pretty much day turned into night with the ashfall just blocked out all sunlight. In my case, you can see my car here. This is Judas, and if you look at the paint, we can see it's essentially, no, it's not a wax job, it's just ash in the air, and the morning dew, everything is just making a mess of everything. So hence the reason why I'm wearing long sleeves, because when that mixes with your sweat and whatnot, it just gets really irritating. Alright, so let's cut to today's video. So like I mentioned the last time, I have a couple of parts in for Judas. Fuel system is getting a complete overhaul, so let's go over what I have here. Okay, this is being used as a temporary part storage, so ignore this. But right here I have a 5-gallon cell from eBay, right? So I already went ahead and I removed the sponge from inside of this, since it's advised that you remove the sponge because they disintegrate over time and then they usually clog up the fuel pumps. So I have from here, I will have a fuel filter coming here, an inline fuel filter, which I have this one, which was already on the car. It's a Russell's, I believe, fuel filter, so I'm going to use that. And then from here it's going to go into this one. It's a Bosch 044 fuel pump. Then I'm going to run some lines from this one all the way to the front, and I picked up this one off Amazon. It's a 10 micron, I think you guys can see this. Yeah, 10 micron. It's an Earl, so it appeared to have some good ratings. It's another inline fuel filter, and then that will go straight to my reel. So this is what we're going to be doing now. I'm not sure how long this video is going to span. More than likely a few days, since I'm waiting on a few parts which are supposed to be here tomorrow. But I went ahead to the part store, I bought some fuel line, and when I was about to fill it, I realized I got this, not for fuel injection. In my haste to buy the line, I bought some 50 psi rated lines, so that is useless. I'll probably use that on the return. But for the feed line, I need to pick up some line tomorrow. But for now, I'm just going to try to fit this here properly. I need to make some mounts for it, 2 inches off the back of the car. All of this will still have to be removed, since I intend on painting the back of this car and ultimately painting over the entire car. So yeah, so fuel system overall, let's get to it. Alrighty, so it's been, God knows how long, it's been about 3-4 days since I last, well, since the last clip. So let me just show you, let me bring you guys up to speed over what has happened. A fair bit has happened over the last few days, but let me go ahead and explain. First thing you'll notice is that the car is clean, so I went ahead and I gave it a wash. Again, guys over in St. Vincent are still going through an eruption, so we have all the ash, the volcanic eruption. The ash is still coming our way, so for now it seems to have calmed down a bit, but let's just pray that that's the end of it. So the car is clean. And let's move over to the back and let's see what we have going there. So you guys remember last time around we were having fuel pressure issues, so I made a few changes. First up, you'll notice that we have a cell. We have the fuel cell here, again 5-gallon eBay fuel cell, and I run a couple lines here. Runs into a Russell, I think it's a 50 micron filter, and that here is a Bosch 044 pump, and there I have some temporary wiring going all the way here to a relay. All of this was existing wiring that was already there, so plan on redoing all of that. So fuel cell, filter, fuel pump running all the way to the front via some 3/8 fuel line. So here's what happened. So I got all of this working. Oh yeah, I got all of this working, and I had this little guy. It's a Earl's 10 micron filter at the front. So I had that working about 3 days ago, the last clip, and everything seemed fine. The car worked. I seemed to be getting good fuel pressure, but then I realized the pump got really noisy. So and then the car began blowing off this little guy here. This fitting, this is the first fitting after the pump. I need to cut my tie straps, but anyways, I'm trying to make this short because I usually always ramble. So it began blowing off this fitting. So there was a restriction somewhere in the line. So fast forward to that, my friend Meldon came over, he helped me troubleshoot, and we found that this filter, the 10 micron filter, was pretty much just getting backed up. Apparently all the gunk and junk left over in the fuel lines from the previous fuel setup was just backing up the lines. So we ended up, they say this one is not serviceable, but I still ended up taking it apart. We serviced that, and that worked for a little while, but then I heard the pump started getting noisy again. So what I did was I took this off, and I pretty much borrowed the fuel filter from this little guy, my Nissan Pulsar, and I rigged it up there. So since then everything has been working good. So let me show you this one. So the line currently still has some residue junk in it, so I just have this one temporarily mounted here. So my plan is to buy another 1 or 2 of those filters, one to replace the one I stole from the Pulsar, and another one to run through there, and then to buy a proper fitting fuel filter, something like maybe a 40 micron inline filter, and then to do that. But for the most part, we have fuel pressure. But then now we have, I won't call it a problem, but we have another issue. Well, we have things now. Okay, let me go ahead and fire that up. Okay, so if you remember the last time around, we were having fuel pressure issues. Now, look at this guy. We have 500 kPa worth of fuel pressure. It usually drops down to about, when you start driving, drops down to about 450, 460 there about. So rough math, I think that's about 63 psi of fuel pressure, right? So it's dropping down now, 490, and then after a while it'll settle down to about, switch that off, it'll settle down to about 450 at idle. And I already took this car for a drive, so I know what it's going to do. And when you go wide open for it, it'll drop down to the 300 kPa, which is the 44. So this is just telling me that now the Bosch 044 pump, with all the filters in line and everything, they pump in a lot more fuel, and we have now enough fuel pressure to override the stock fuel pressure regulator now. So now the stock fuel pressure regulator cannot bypass enough fuel around the rail at idle, since the engine is not consuming enough fuel, and then now we're having it overpowering the fuel rail. So okay, you can tune around it, but best practice is to actually just upgrade the fuel pressure regulator, which I intend on doing. I plan on converting this car from the stock side fed injectors to top fed. So that is essentially the update on Judas. So all of that next we just need to take it out for a drive. I already took it out for a drive and it seemed very well, but I still have the dry shaft. It's still not aligned yet, so it's still vibrating a bit. But so now we'll just cut straight into taking it out for a quick drive. Alrighty, so there we go, guys. So everything is working 100%, with the exception, of course, the fuel pressure is a bit higher on idle. But as you go into load, you can see what I just looked. I just pulled the log, and when you go into load, it actually goes down to the 300 kPa in load, because the engine is consuming the fuel at the excessive fuel at the fuel pump is producing. So it's really hot now. I'm gonna wrap this one up, so it's a success. So next step, probably gonna rewire the coils. I noticed the wire's a bit sketchy, and probably gonna redo the fuel injectors. I'm gonna swap fuel injectors from the side fed to some top fed. I'm gonna change the rail, and I may just do a regulator one time. So that's probably what I'm gonna do next. But before then, I'm probably gonna do some little things to get the car a bit more reliable, like align the dry shaft. You may have heard it in the clip. And other than that, just plan on registering it and insuring it and start enjoying it. Right, so thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys on the next one, hopefully a few days from now. But until then, stay safe and stay blessed.